Welcome to another episode of Spoonful of Species, your go-to place for conservation through baking. My name is Caitlin, and I'm an interpretive naturalist with years of experience telling stories of animals, both aquatic and terrestrial. I'm also an avid baker, so each week I bake an animal-themed dessert and then tell the conservation stories for that animal and hopefully help you learn a couple of fun facts along the way. This week I'm baking Giant Eland Churros. To make your Giant Eland Churros, you will need 1 cup of water, 8 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 1/4 cup of flour, 3 eggs, 1 1/2 cups vegetable oil, 1/2 cup of sugar, and 3/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. To make your Giant Eland Churros, first combine the water, butter, salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon over medium heat until boiling in a medium saucepan. Once boiling, reduce the heat to low and add your flour all at once, stirring vigorously until the mixture forms a ball. Next, remove from heat and add the eggs one at a time, mixing thoroughly, and then set aside to cool. Giant eland are the world's largest antelope. They stand over 9 feet tall. At their heads, their horns can be an additional 2 feet long, and they can weigh over 2,000 pounds. These giant antelope are incredible animals, and despite their large size, can run over 40 miles an hour and jump over 5 feet in the air. When they're born, these giant eland have beautiful white stripes on their sides. This is because these eland are found in the African woodlands and savanna areas, and those stripes help hide them in the tall grasses or amongst the trees. The eland's giant horns are large and spiraling, and both the male and the female have them, but the males are larger, longer, and thicker, and are often even more curved than the females. They're large and spiraling, and they are the inspiration for this week's bake. Heat your oil in a skillet to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and while it's heating, spoon your dough into a piping bag fitted with a large star tip. Pipe the dough onto parchment paper while turning the tip to curl the dough, and twist it when you drop it into the pan. Cut with scissors onto the parchment paper, and when the oil is ready, roll the dough off the parchment paper into the oil, flipping about halfway. Remove from oil when golden brown on both sides and drain on a paper towel. The giant folded skin on their neck is called a dewlap, and the dewlap helps them thermoregulate, which is just a fancy way of saying it helps them control their temperature. They are very large animals, and they produce a lot of heat, and it can be very hot in Africa, so that large fold of skin helps kind of vent off excess heat, which allows them to stay cool, especially during those hot summer days. Giant eland are active during the day, but are found to be more active at night, and are at risk for being eaten by predators in the wild. And these predators, like lions or hyenas, generally go for the smaller, weaker eland, but have been known to take on the giant eland. And I asked myself, and maybe you were thinking the same thing, why on earth would they want to take on a huge 2,000-pound animal, or take on their young when a huge 2,000-pound animal with 2 feet horns is nearby? And the answer is that it takes a lot of effort for predators to capture their prey, and they want to be able to get as much nutrients and as much food out of a hunt as they possibly can. And the giant eland, while maybe a little more difficult to catch or to take down, would definitely provide a lot of food for a whole pride of lions or a whole bunch of hyenas. So it's worth it for them to take that risk so that they don't have to hunt again really soon like they would if they caught a smaller prey item. Once dry, mix your sugar and cinnamon together and dust the churros with it. giant eland are at risk for extinction because of habitat loss and overhunting in their natural habitats. They are actually being domesticated in certain parts of the world because their milk is extremely nutritious, or high in fat anyway, and their meat is really good for people to eat, and they're a lot hardier than cattle are. So in a lot of places, giant eland are being domesticated, but it's the wild populations that we're truly worried about, because the wild populations are often hunted or overhunted past the point of where their populations can be sustained. And they're usually hunted for like trophy hunting for their horns, which does no one any good. Fortunately, the African Wildlife Foundation is working with governments and villages to create natural protected habitats for these animals and other animals like them to be able to live in protected environments and thrive without the threat of hunting, and to make sure that their habitats have everything that they need in order for them to be able to survive. The Giant Conservation Group is focused on ecological studies of giant eland. They are doing some breeding management programs outside of the wild in different zoos around the world. They're also focused on environmental education about giant elands and where they live. If you want to help giant eland, you can go visit the African Wildlife Foundation website and see how you can help, or the Giant Conservation Program, which is both are very important and really exciting projects that are working directly with giant eland. You can also continue to come visit me here to Spoonful of Species, where every week we take a bite out of conservation. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been another episode of Spoonful of Species. Follow me wherever you follow people, and I'll see you next week.